Twitch streamers are struggling with trauma dumping. Viewers are derailing chats with their personal problems, and streamers feel ill-equipped to deal with their issues. Well, you should. You honestly, because streamers are not licensed therapists. Now, I could say you don't have to be a therapist to speak with somebody about their problems, but typically these are friends, lifelong friends that you know well enough for them to divulge their personal information to you, for you to open up about your own experiences and hopefully help them. But no, this is an awkward thing to talk about when you're killing zombies for a high score. Sorry, I know this is an odd one, but then again, my last few videos have been odd ones, but this is something I've run into even with my very small Twitch channel. Someone comes in and they want to talk about a family member passing away or something of that nature, and I'm just like, dude, and the whole stream is now focused on this one chatter. But anyway, let's go into the article a little bit. So this article on inputmagazine.com or inputmag.com goes into a streamer named Toph. Or that's what I think it is. And basically, this person's life was uprooted. They had to break up with their partner and move to a new area. And they went to start streaming as kind of a way to blow off steam. You know, to forget about those problems for a little while. And then I'll go into the article here. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out that way. In that moment, someone came in and trauma dumped about a breakup from an abusive partner who cheated on them. And of course, my community is very sweet. So they started responding, and it just kept going and going. Quote Toph, who has 34,000 followers on Twitch. Now imagine, when somebody comes in and drops a bomb like that on you, what do you say? Why, Weed Blazer 420, I'm sorry that happened to you. Now check out this sick 360 no-scope. Exactly what do you want to have happen? If somebody comes into your stream, imagine this, if you're not a streamer, you're a comedian at the nightclub, and it's a very small audience, and somebody drops that on you. Now, everybody's looking to you to entertain them, to make them laugh, to make them feel good, or help them. Well, a comedian wouldn't do this, but if you're a gaming streamer, you probably talk a lot about the game you're playing. But no, now you got to talk about this person's problem. And the trap to it is that if you're just rude and say, hey, I can't help you with that, you might want to talk to your family. Next thing you know, you're being dragged for being a horrible person. And that is, if your stream is popular enough for people to notice. Toph goes on to explain that this whole chat centered around this one other chatter instead of the streamer went on for 11 minutes and put him into a sour mood. He says the conversation didn't quote unquote trigger him, but he felt defeated and canceled the stream for today, going on, quote, so much is going on in my life. Twitch and streaming are some of the only things that take my mind off of it. And now it's getting taken away from me. Why can't this be my safe space too?
Sorry, can I get my ale? It's just that I think I'm sobering up.
Well, I suppose that depends on the definition of safe. What one person considers safe, somebody else might consider dangerous. Perhaps it's a generational thing, but I consider myself to be safe if I'm fairly insulated from physical harm, such as sitting here in my chair in front of my computer. The only way I'm really going to get hurt is if the ceiling falls down on me or a bullet comes flying through my window. Both are highly unlikely. Other people seem to think safe means that they're insulated from hearing something that they find displeasurable, or even going further as to believe that other people should cater to their emotional needs. They need to be heard to feel safe. They need someone to listen to them to feel safe. You see, I go into that rant because further down the article, Tough goes on to say this: I was trying to be there for them while making sure everyone else was comfortable and safe. But they immediately got angry at me. They told me that I was wrong, or I was in the wrong for deleting it, and that I was heartless. They left the community after that. Now, I think most people can glide right over the way that people use words without it bothering them. For some reason, I've never been one of those people. I find language and the definitions of words to be important. If we're not operating by the same definitions, then we don't know what the hell the other person is saying. Making sure everyone else feels comfortable and safe. I told you my definition of safe, but other people's definitions of safe is wildly different. It's just something that annoys me. You're sitting in a computer chair looking at a computer screen, and you need to be kept safe? If these trauma dumpers are not just simply trolls, if they're people that are honestly attempting to, take the attention off of everything else and put it on themselves, or worse yet, if they honestly need help and they should be speaking to family members is what they should be doing, or if they're not speaking to family, they need to be speaking to friends. If they don't have any friends, well, they can always do what I do and turn to alcohol. But it seems a lot like turning people's own kindness against them. What? You're not going to cater to me? You want me to feel safe, don't you? I just feel like this language needs to be dropped. Comfortable in a stream? I can understand. Banning anybody who's saying anything overtly offensive. People who may be talking politics or religion. People who are just overall being insulting. Sure, I can understand the word comfort being used there, but safe? Safe implies bodily harm, or at least to me. Now, somebody can hold up the dictionary and says, well, actually, safety says this. Yeah, the definition, the dictionary's been corrupted beyond all recognition. I have the lexicon of how words were used whenever I was raised, and I'm sorry, I'm not bowing down to how people use them now. I hate how watered down words have become. However, there is another Twitch streamer in this article who seems to be taking a more hard-nosed approach. If this person was more popular, they'd probably get in trouble, but we'll see. A streamer named Logan with less than 800 followers seems to also be dealing with this issue. Sorry, but Logan's a cool name, so that's what I'm calling him. Logan goes on to say, I had one viewer who just vented every time that they were in chat. They never really contributed to the conversation that was going on. They just derailed whatever was happening to talk about their problems. Basically turning this person's chat into a therapy session for themselves. Twitch streams are not a therapy session. I know I keep bringing it up, but it seems like trolling to me, and even if it's not, the person's taking advantage of you in the chat. And that's a harsh thing to say. Nobody wants to hear it because this person might be sad, they might be having real issues, but that doesn't mean that they're not responsible for their own behavior. And hate me all you want, I live by that. I have my own little demons in my head I have to deal with. But they're nobody else's responsibility. They are my responsibility. I've got 2 really good friends I talk to whenever it's bothering me, and I have family I talk to when it's bothering me. And even then, I understand that they are under no obligation to help me. I'm just lucky enough to have those few friends who do. But like I said, what goes on in my head, my little demons, are no excuse for my behavior. I am responsible for my own behavior. Logan recently went viral on Twitter after he tweeted a message to viewers. Please stop dropping your insanely depressing news in the chat. Even this morning, I was watching someone raise money for Ukraine in a charity stream, and somebody came in and said, "I'm pregnant. I just found out. Now I'm sad." Everyone else had to stop the conversation and deal with it. You see, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around doing this to people who are having a good time, and you just come in and say, "Oh, here's a little something to rain on your parade." No, I have seen this before. Whenever I was a young man, depression causes people to behave this way. They'll be hanging out with a group of friends, and they'll be the Debbie Downer. They'll be upset, but usually it's some form of serious self-deprecation. They are talking poorly about themselves, and of course it puts everybody else off. It puts everybody else off the good mood, but it's because I mostly saw in high school, the person would just feel so poorly about themselves that they didn't understand how to interact with everybody else without putting themselves down. But even then, back then, those people, they were around people that they thought were their friends, right? And it's still a kind of a mean thing to do because everybody's just trying to enjoy themselves. But I can't imagine walking into a chat room with so many strangers. I'm sorry. I feel like this is a form of trolling. It's a way to just mess with everybody. But I don't want to just say that because some of these people might really need help, and this is how they feel is the best way to reach out. Maybe it's a situation where like what Logan did here, a matter of tough love. Like, you are in the wrong place to discuss that. And of course, you come off being a massive jerk saying something like that because we're all supposed to, tend to all of each other's fifis now. But maybe that could be the best thing you can do for a person like this. Someone comes into a stream chat, be it there's 10 people in there or 5,000. Perhaps what that person needs to hear is that they're in the wrong place. Go talk to your mom, go talk to your dad, talk to your brother, talk to your sister, talk to your best friend. They're people who understand you well enough to help you deal with these problems. Not to mention, man, spilling your problems on the internet, if they're true, you are just opening the doors for people to really take advantage of you. And this is where I would consider people not to be safe whenever you give up too much information about yourself to people you don't know. My God, and I'm sorry if I'm not sorry. If you're bothered by what I'm saying because you may be a person who does this or maybe have done this in the past, I'm not trying to condemn you, but I am saying you're taking the wrong action. If you're still doing this, if you're not, good, don't. And I'm not saying that, these Twitch streamers are, huge victims because of this. You ruined a stream at worst. It's a stream. Unfortunately, the solution is, I think, what Logan touched on here, even if they might disagree with me, is they just gotta toughen up and tell people, don't do that here. Don't do that here. I even have a warning on my own stream that says, keep it positive. And so if somebody comes in and they start talking about negative shit, I will warn them. I will kick you out. My Twitch stream is different from my YouTube. I let people criticize me on my YouTube. That's not a problem. But in the Twitch stream, it's happy feelings, rainbows all over the place. Which I know sounds horrible coming from me, but that's just the truth of it. If I'm playing a video game, I'm frustrated, I'm already pissed off, and you come in and piss me off even more, I'll ban your ass. Another streamer, Wiggins, had a what I think is maybe a good take, or a different take at least. Wiggins takes medications for anxiety, so he understands that viewers want to express themselves when they feel down. Still, he thinks that normalizing this behavior is bad for both Twitch streamers and viewers alike. If the stream is very silly or just relaxed or something, it's hard to get back on track when somebody brings something so dour to your door. His main concern, however, is how trauma dumping could impact viewers who engage in it, as they won't learn to cope with what they're going through appropriately. If you're just doing that to strangers, you're not helping you, and you're not helping the person you're talking to, because they're ill-equipped to deal with it, and you're showing that you're ill-equipped to properly display your emotions. Boy, oh boy. I could talk about this for hours. Unfortunately, this video is running long enough as it is. Now, people can scream at me, oh, you're just a boomer, all that they want to, but this generation coming up seems to have no ability to deal with their own emotions. The second they feel a negative emotion, it seems like it's everybody else's problem. Once again, hate me all you want, but I think we would be better served to teach people how to deal with their emotions than trying to shield them from their emotions. Because once they leave mommy and daddy's house, that shield is gone and they have no idea how to deal with it. So whenever they turn in that report late and the boss gives them the riot act, that's the first time they've ever been yelled at. They don't know how to process that. I tell you what, to this day, I thank God my mom and dad yelled at me, and I thank God they beat my ass a few times. Because if they didn't, I wouldn't be alive today. Sometimes you bust your ass and you don't win. You don't get anything for it. And you know what that means? The next day, you gotta do it all over again. You gotta try again, because nobody's handing you shit. And once again, I say all that to come back to this point, that folks are ill-equipped to properly display or deal with those emotions. Walking into an open internet chat that anybody can look at and talk about your problems freely, that is not a good place to start. Wiggins, however, is slightly less forgiving, as he feels viewers often overlook the distress that trauma dumping can cause for the streamers. One of the worst things that's happened to the internet is the discourse around mental health, he says. It started off as a way for people to share their issues and feel less alone, but I think some people don't have the boundary of knowing when to stop sharing. I think the only thing I can add to this point, because it's so well stated, is yeah, there comes a point when you are putting too much burden on people who don't owe it to you to carry that burden. Especially if they're a streamer and they're trying to entertain, it would be it 10, be it 50, be it 100, be 1,000 other people in the chat. For them to stop and focus on one person is, and then talk about something that's dour. And let's end it with a Toph quote here. He was the person from the beginning. My stream isn't just a safe space for the viewer, or for me. It's a safe space for everyone. That means all of us should feel comfortable there and have a bit of a reprieve from the real world and our problems within it. Well, yeah, I imagine that this streamer wouldn't offload their problems onto their viewers, but if they did, the viewers can just walk out the door, right? Nobody will notice. So yeah, folks, just remember that while we might get friendly with each other, we might have some in-jokes and things like that, don't place these burdens on other people. And as I talk through this, I feel like I'm being a bad person, like I'm saying, oh, don't talk about your issues. I'm just saying, don't do it this way. Don't do it this way. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to a therapist. A Twitch streamer is not a therapist. The chat there is not a therapist. They have their roles to play. And I mean, if you're doing this to troll, well, I mean, I really can't say much to you. Trolling's part of the internet. However, I think the only way maybe this can be fixed is if we stop vilifying people for banning people who do this trauma dumping. If somebody shows up to a stream and says their puppy has cancer and that person gets banned, do we bash the streamer or the moderator that banned that person? Or do we just accept that that kind of chat is going to drag down the stream? Until we're allowed to start being the bad guys, I guess, it's going to continue to grow and be a problem. Because only hindsight is ever 2020. And I feel like we live in a world that currently, if somebody were to come into a Twitch stream and share their problems, and somebody was like, hey, could you stop that? You know, like I'm running a comedy stream here where I say funny stuff, and it's hard to laugh when you're talking about your cat that just died. But if you ban that person, and it turns out that they were telling the truth, suddenly the streamer's the biggest asshole on the planet. And unfortunately, as long as we have the fear of being the asshole, there's not really a whole lot that can be done about this problem, if you even want to call it that. My way of dealing with it is, well, quite simply, I am an asshole. I put it right on my stream that to keep it positive, to only talk about positive stuff, which sounds like, you know, safe space rules, but whatever. Like I said before, the stream, the Twitch chat is different from talking to me on Twitter or any platform like that. Keep it positive. If you don't, I'm going to either ignore the message or I will show you the door. It doesn't bother me. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I just felt like this was very interesting because it's kind of a microcosm of the way that we're starting to function as a society, but on the internet with our anonymity or how we deal with things. Because quite frankly, in real life, we wouldn't just sit down at a table full of strangers and say, oh, by the way, this is my problems. But the internet has its own culture with trolls. Some people just do this kind of stuff to mess with other people. What do you think about this? Do you think it's even really a problem? Now, granted, like I said, I'm not a big streamer, so I've only run into it a few times, but wow. Given how many times I've run into it, if I had a few thousand, maybe it'd happen a lot. But anyway, I'm just starting to ramble. I'm just interested in other people's thoughts on this. Mostly, I'm more of the mind that people just need to stop being afraid to be the asshole. To simply say, hey, stop that. Cut that out. I feel bad for you, but you're in the wrong place. Anyway, once again, thank you very much for listening, and you have a great day.